So, voice of Winnie the Pooh, as well as Tigger. Like, subscribe, ID in the Discovery Channel. Yes, ID in the Discovery Channel. The links are provided below. Get that Discovery Go app as well as that ID Go app. You might want to get those two things, combine them, make them into one. So, it's very rare that you will hear of, say, the voice, depending on the films. But just to randomly hear some scandal. Usually you hear that about big name people outside of a voice for, say, someone like Winnie the Pooh, the man behind Winnie the Pooh or behind Tigger. So, voice of famous character, Winnie the Pooh, and rape. Jim Cummings is the individual accused of rape by his ex-wife. I stated who he portrayed, right? Winnie the Pooh being worshipped and adored by both young and old alike. And yet, with the films, the portrayal of Winnie the Pooh, over 250 children's films. That is a lot of films, right? As well as TV shows. He's tied up in an ongoing child custody battle with ex-wife Stephanie Cummings. Divorce usually brings out the worst in people, good and bad. I'm saying it is hard to pick apart and pull apart the judgment aspect of when divorce is involved. Is to say, well, are the accusations truth, or is there just anger and bitterness that stands in accusations, right? When couples separate and children is involved with that, right? So there's court documents which reveal various allegations of abuse on both sides. Documents filed in Los Angeles County in all from after the couple's marriage ending. Did that make sense? That's a run-on sentence as well. I did that in the last video. That's because it's too early to be preserved. With that, as in get it together. No, I'm not dead laying here. I just laying here. That's funny as well. That's a joke as well. I'm not dead laying here. I'm just shallowly sleep. I feel as if I need to be asleep. It's just too early, right? So all this, yeah, in fact, happened after their marriage ended, right? So March 2019, court documents express the ex-couple's situation, such as proof that they were married in 2001 and divorced in 2011, along with accusations the ex-couple have recently been fighting in court over child custody for their two daughters, ages 11 and 14. See what I said? Fighting in court can lead to anything, even accusations, right? So Stephanie Cummings is accusing Jim of emotional abuse, sexual, physical, emotional abuse, as well as he used death threats on her. Those are in fact her words, not mine. That's what she said. He was emotionally abusive, sexually abusive, and physically abusive, as well as used death threats. Rape, too. Remember, he was her husband at that time, and she's saying that he would rape him, right? And use other deviant behaviors in the form of sex by forcing himself on her. I just said that. These are all the claims by the ex-wife, right? Stephanie, too, claimed Jim could be very abusive to their family dog. Abusive to the family dog. I just watched a video right here on YouTube, not to get off a topic, but I watched a video how a woman left a dog, big dog too, big burly, left the dog in the car in the heat. I think it was like 100 degrees outside or something like that. All the windows rolled up and the dog died. I was watching that dog laying there dead with a cup of water next to him, right? Police and everybody trying to revive that dog. Abuse comes in all forms, right? But yes, Stephanie too claimed Jim could be very abusive to their family dog at that time, and more so during two specific occasions. She stated he shattered the dog's hips by hitting it with a broom hard, and which led to the puppy needing surgery to repair the dog's hip. Also, he would leave the dog outside in extreme temperatures, sometimes up to 100-degree weather, right? She also stated the ex would push himself in front of their daughters without consent from her, and in doing so, he would grope her. Do men do that sort of thing in front of their children? Grope and kiss on the, say, their daughters? I would say sons, but people will question, well, did he ever want to molest his daughters? Could that be why he was forcing himself on his wife in front of the girls, the young daughters? That's questionable, right? But yeah, that's what she claims, is that he would grope her and kiss on her forcefully, right? She claims in 2013 he raped her. When it comes to restraining order, 2018, Stephanie placed a restraining order on the ex after she woke up to find him using her hand to stroke his penis as their youngest daughter laid on the other side of the same bed. Every time, what she's trying to say is every time he would do stuff, their daughters would be around, or one of the daughters, right? It's claimed the reason for the couple's separation is due to and stems from Jim's unresolved drug issues such as alcohol, Adderall, and marijuana. And yet Jim professes that both he and Stephanie had their bit with drugs, and they both struggled with drugs. That's what he said. And they both signed up for rehab together on a voluntarily basis. Right. Jim stated that Stephanie had one of their daughters falsely accuse him of molestation, saying he had molested her, their daughter. That's odd in itself, because I just said that to grope on your wife or ex-wife, wife at that time, to be groping on her and kissing on her forcefully, as well as you supposedly raped her, is to say the daughters, when he would feel all on her, the daughters were around, and then all of a sudden he's saying that she had the daughters falsely accuse him of molestation. It's to say, well, how far can the ex-wife go in anger and bitterness with that? When they're divorced, custody battles, and all the rest, right? Because the lie, as far as you can go, is to prevent custody with that. Which could be why she has came out and said what she said, right? With the accusations of him molesting her, right? Seems like there's something more going on with that. So when it comes to him claiming Stephanie ended up hospitalized after suicide attempts, in addiction to both alcohol and opioids. If all this is going on, as to say, I don't want to say that, and yet I should, because I said it on other videos about other individuals. This man is famous, and yet it can point to that, him, as well as to say, if all this is going on, is to say, well, maybe the kids might not need to be with either one of y'all. Need not be with either both of y'all, unless all is just, once again, accusations or so. Because to say, well, she was hospitalized after suicide attempts and addiction to alcohol and opioids, is to say all that is a disaster, as in what even the kids are witnessing and knowing about their parents. That can do damage emotionally to children when they grow up. They perceive you different, and then they disrespect you and all the rest, right? Stuff like that should be hidden away from the eyes of kids, is all I'm trying to say, because it has an effect on the mind. Growing up, the growth process, right? Some kids don't take too well, and they just don't say it. Sometimes they keep it to themselves. Sometimes they tell the other sibling, well, I don't like seeing all that. And yet the parents never know, right? So he filed a restraining order on the ex-wife on March 1st, 2019. He also jumped to file a child custody and visitation order, preventing of Stephanie of seeing, yes, their daughters. She did her thing, he did his thing. Them both trying to, put a wall between each other and prevent one another from seeing their kids, right? Reasons for Jim's court order is that he felt Stephanie abandoned their daughters and violated a past custody order. All this fighting and all that has an effect on children's mental health and well-being. As in it will, because if any one of these daughters want to grow up and say be in Hollywood and all the rest, is to say they might in fact become drugged out. You never know, based off of what all they had to endure and go through. With that, helps to resolve your issues when children are involved, is all I'm trying to say. So let me know what you think and feel, dear viewer, as in leave a comment. Winnie the Pooh, as in you never know who's doing what as a voice of someone you love and adore, or someone your children love, admire, and adore, right? No one would have ever thought, well, voice of Winnie the Pooh, he's a rapist and all this other stuff. It's to say what I want my children, because see, to say somebody was a voice, would that change the perspective of even how, I think it would change the perspective of even how I see Winnie the Pooh, even if that was a past act or even if it was a present current act, right? Would I want my children young watching a Winnie the Pooh? Because to say, well, because didn't that happen with Elmo when they were trying to say, well, the voice behind Elmo was in fact a gay male, right? Would that change the perspective? I'm guessing and thinking and sensing it would amongst an adult of a child, because see, a child is gonna love just about everybody until they're told not to, right? And yet some parents wouldn't want them tuning in, even if the voice of, say, Winnie the Pooh or anybody else was changed to somebody else. Because see, they'll say, well, that voice, that man his portrayal of, say, Winnie the Pooh or Barney. Remember Barney? Purple Barney, right? Even if it was Barney way back then, and say somebody else is now portraying him, even cartoons or whatnot, a mother or father will say, well, if that happened back then and he was portraying back then and he was raping and all this other stuff, is to say, well, what could have changed even though the voice is of somebody else new? Does that make sense? Just because you change a voice actor that's behind the scene is to say what a new person behind doing the portrayal, would that individual be close to that last person portraying a Barney, Winnie the Pooh, Elmo, or the rest? That's how we adults think. It will make you look more and possibly even research more into the character as well. Winnie the Pooh, Barney, Elmo, Clifford the big red dog. Right? Well, not really Clifford the red. Not really. I just looked at the red and said that. Not him. But others. See, when we got all type of children films out here, you would want to side-eye that and say, well, who is these people doing this voice? Or voice over all the rest with this? You would want to know. Because remember, they're entertaining your kids. That's why. And for those parents that don't really pay attention or give their kids all their attention, is to say they allow the TV or phone to babysit their kids. Those type of parents, I was gonna say, well, they shouldn't have kids, right? Some parents don't have time to babysit and all the rest take care of their kids, right? Which is why they send them off to be babysat by the phone, the iPhone, the iPad, right? And yet it helps to know what your kids are watching. Yes, it could be innocent, and yet who knows? You just don't know because it's world renowned. Winnie the Pooh or Tigger or whatever, you don't know. And then later on stuff like this scandal comes out, and then you say, well, maybe I need to look more into that. I just said that already, right? Helps to be aware. I think that's all to be said for now. So we're on investigationdiscovery.com. ID logo stands in the far left corner. Live now, 48 hours on ID season 14. You can in fact come on here yourself. To receive an audio preview is to click the play button. You can add to watch later right here by clicking that plus and roam through as you like. On last night, let me pull this over so I can see. On last night, to gain access to this is padlocked down, is to provide your provider, as in who you subscribe to. That's the only way you're going to gain access, because that's in fact exclusive. You can click the plus sign to add to watch later. Various ones on here are like that. Unlock series, you can preview that as well. Recommended for you, shouts out to Paula as well as Lieutenant Joe Kinda. Oops, I just clicked to that. Let me go back. ID Go Original Series. Love to John Walsh as well. The Crime Feed News, crimefeed.com. Crimefeed.com. To gain access to the Crime Feed is to click right within here. You will in fact be directed to the outside, crimefeed.com, for the latest, greatest murder and mayhem. To receive a newsletter is to type your email address in and click next. And you would in fact receive a newsletter from Investigation Discovery. I think that's all to be said for now. So, enjoy your day, and I will in fact enjoy mine.